Pro-choice means advocating the legal right of a woman to choose whether or not she will have an abortion.
Woman.
A woman. Have you ever been in a situation where abortion was brought up?
It was a very mutual thing. It was like, okay, not prepared for this, do not want to keep the child, so this is what I want to do. This is the choice I have made. I want you to be okay with it. She said, I'm pregnant, I don't want to keep the child, so I want to procure an abortion, but I don't have the money to do it. So all I need for you to do is pay for it and take me there. And I said, yeah, I am okay with it because one, I believe that, yeah, it's because the woman is the one who carries a child. I can't come through with some random suggestions or saying, oh, this is what you have to do.
Men should not be a part of the conversation.
It's not a part of a man's body. It's not a life that they are personally bringing into the world. And I don't think that they should be the end-all be-all to make that choice.
I actually think everyone has to be a part of every conversation. Now, I don't think men should be the dominant voice in the conversation at all. Well, and also if it's gonna be solely on me to prevent, then it is solely on me to make a choice thereafter.
It takes two to tango, right? I think we can all agree on that. And the chromosomes come from both the mother and the father. That baby is a part of the father as well.
As a guy, I feel like my statements are more opinions or suggestions, that it doesn't really matter. Thank you for your input, but we really need to make the decision based on what the woman feels.
Men are involved in abortion-related processes in one or multiple ways. Some of these ways include coercing women into having an abortion against their will, claiming to support the woman's decision while influencing outcomes towards abortion, finding out about abortion once it has been completed, and the woman procuring abortion services against their wishes. A study by Rocca and colleagues uncovered, and I quote, "The predicted probability of reporting that abortion was the right decision was over 99% at all time points over 3 years. Women with more planned pregnancies and who had more difficulty deciding to terminate the pregnancy had lower odds of reporting the abortion was the right decision." According to the BBC, while very few women report regretting making the abortion decision, data from organizations that offer post-abortive services suggests that men report feelings of sadness, shame, anger, guilt, and failure because they are perceived as protectors. The book Men and Abortion, Lessons, Losses, and Love by Arthur Shostak and Gary McLeod surveyed 1,000 men in the waiting rooms of abortion clinics and uncovered that only 5% of men did not want the abortion while the rest reported the decision being mutual. Half the single and divorced men suggested getting married and having the baby. A significant percentage of half the men who do not show up to abortion clinics do not support abortion or are too upset about the whole thing to have to be part of it. 1 in 6 men are never notified of the pregnancy or the abortion. 60% agreed boyfriends should be part of the abortion decision, 80% agreed husbands should have equal say on abortion decisions, and 60% agreed that the woman should have the final word. Just wondering, would 60% of women agree that the man should have the final word when it comes to deciding whether he supports a child or not? Discussions around abortion, that is, the pro-choice pro-life debate, revolve around the rights of the expectant mother and the unborn child, with men or fathers being left out of such discussions. All discussions around abortion focus on women's reproductive rights, while men's reproductive rights are almost neglected fully. The whole debate around abortion is largely based on female choice. Do women decide whether to have children or not, or should the government make the decision for them? This should then be followed by, should men decide whether or not they support children, or should governments make that decision for them? Pro-choicers argue that pro-lifers are not interested in the child but in penalizing the woman for enjoying coitus. Does that mean that denying men reproductive rights also seeks to penalize them for enjoying coitus? So, should both men and women be liberated from the consequences of engaging in intercourse, or should neither? There is a widespread assumption around the abortion debate that legalizing abortion is a source of equality for women, while others argue that it is a source of inequality for men. If the woman does not want the baby, then there is a wide range of services to terminate the pregnancy, with or without the father's consent or knowledge. If the woman keeps the child, then the father is obligated to pay child support, which could date back to a time when the man did not even know if he was a father. Also, the woman could have the baby and make the unilateral decision of giving it up for adoption without the father's knowledge. The only time men come up in the abortion debate, specifically on the pro-choice side, is celebrating the fact that women now have the freedom to fully exercise their reproductive rights beyond male or patriarchal control. Catherine Denby, a feminist, asserts, and I quote, "I believe a woman should not be forced to become a mother any more than a man should be forced to become a father." Karen DeCrow, who served as the president of the National Organization for Women between 1974 and 1977, maintains, and I quote, "If a woman makes a unilateral decision to bring pregnancy to term, and the biological father does not, and cannot, share in this decision, he should not be liable for 21 years of support." Autonomous women making independent decisions about their lives should not expect men to finance their choice. Marcia Greenberger, co-president of the National Women's Law Center, disagrees with DeCrow's argument in citing, and I quote, "The distinction with respect to abortion is the physical toll that it takes on a woman to carry a fetus to term, which doesn't have any translation for men. Once the child is born, neither can walk away from the obligations of parenthood. Of course, there is adoption, which in some instances does not even require the father's consent, thus freeing herself from any responsibilities. There have been numerous efforts over the recent past to raise awareness around fathers' rights and abortion through opt-outs or notice requirements. Courts always treat fathers' rights as secondary to those of mothers, in almost all cases, but private arrangements allow the active involvement of fathers in the relevant decisions. When expectant women want to terminate the pregnancy, the father to the unborn child has no say on what happens based on two reasons. One, the woman preserves her right to privacy, including when making medical decisions, and two, she is also affected by the pregnancy directly. The Roe v. Wade ruling of 1973 legalized abortion in the United States. Planned Parenthood v. Danforth case of 1976 determined that a prospective father's consent is unnecessary for abortion to occur. In this case, the husband refused to consent, which was perceived to have vetoed the wife's choice to abort. Prospective fathers and expectant mothers are interested in the decision, and as such, one partner's interests have to prevail. The court went ahead to favor the woman because she is the one who actually carries the pregnancy, and hence, the father does not get to decide. Some argue that if men's consent determined whether abortion took place or not, then the rates of abortion would drop by 50%, a phenomenon that explains why pro-choicers often attack men's involvement in any of the related campaigns. So if the father's consent is irrelevant, should they be notified before the pregnancy is terminated? Well, even notification is unnecessary according to the Planned Parenthood v. Casey case of 1992. The majority ruling in the case argued that notifying the father burdens a woman who fails to disclose the abortion plans because they mostly are in abusive relationships and also fears for her safety and that of her children. In instances where the child in question is the first, does she fear for the safety of the child whose life she is about to terminate? So how about when the woman wants to have the child and the man is not ready for the responsibilities? Should the courts then argue that since the man is the one supposed to raise the child, that is primarily through child support, then he can decide to legally compel the woman to have an abortion? Then that infringes on her right to privacy and seeking medical services or making the necessary decisions. The other choice would be the man maintaining the right to decide how his resources are utilized, thereby undertaking financial or paper, or statutory abortion. As the woman gets to decide whether they want to become a mother or not after conception, shouldn't fathers be provided with the same rights? Think of instances of assisted reproduction where a man and a woman freeze a test tube embryo for storage to be used at a later date in the marriage or union but later end up separating. In such cases, the man is able to stop the woman from using the embryo to get pregnant. Think of artificial insemination where women seek sperm donor services and conceive artificially. Do such women, therefore, rob their children of the fundamental right of being supported by the other parent? Thus, there are different reproductive rights based on the approach used in conception. The term financial abortion was coined in 1998 by Francis K. Goldschneider, a sociology professor at Brown University, who suggested that men should be given the right to choose or denounce fatherhood after conception, as women are provided such rights through abortion and adoption. The concept was tested in the Dubé v. Wells case where man challenged the payment of child support after finding out the girlfriend was pregnant after they had broken up. Dubé lost the case with the judge arguing, and I quote, "If chivalry is not dead, its viability is gravely imperiled by the plaintiff in this case," in reference to the chivalry that is demeaning to women and a product of the patriarchy that is selectively being fought or dismantled every day, as it has been for the past 3 to 4 decades. Advocates for financial abortion in the case of men suggest that after conception, women should notify the prospective father who then, just like she gets to decide whether to be a mother or not, he also gets to decide whether he wants to be a father or not, at least in legal terms. Financial abortion is presented as an equalizer in a situation where men are responsible for decisions only women are permitted to make. Some of the questions used to test the validity of financial abortion include, how does a father prove they were never interested in being a parent? How far along in the pregnancy should the man declare he is not interested in parenting? Should the child be allowed access to the father's information? What happens when some of these questions come up in the abortion debate? So what if a man agrees to have children at the start and then backs out? The accompanying question is, how about women who lie about their contraception situation to trap men with children for child support? Then there is the argument that men abandon their children anyway. What difference would constitutional changes make? Well, women in jurisdictions where abortion is criminalized still procure the services anyway, either in the same jurisdictions or in others where abortion is legal, so what difference does the abortion debate make? Women are independent now, and a father rejecting fatherhood does not necessarily translate to abortion, but translates to the mother being fully aware of the responsibility ahead based on the decisions she will make. Single mothers rarely seek support from fathers, especially when they do not want them in their lives unless they seek federal support. Whenever men raise the possibility of financial abortion in court, arguing that, just like the woman reserves the right to be a mother or not through abortion and adoption, they could also opt out of parenting through financial abortion, court actors assert that in such instances, it ceases to be the father's and mother's best interests or rights, but the interest or rights of the child, who is entitled to support by both parents. So in preserving the woman's rights to abortion, where do the best interests or rights of the child go to? Isn't it in the best interest of the child to at the very least be alive? Which best interest or right of a child goes beyond the right to life? When are the child's interests and rights important and when are they not? Where are the best interests of the child when there is a heartbeat at 6 weeks or the fetus is viable and able to live outside the womb at 24 to 28 weeks?